Hello everyone, welcome to a thoughtful conversation with Aisha Ghazi on the Rohingya Humanitarian Crisis, where we engage in meaningful conversation about critical issues. I am Zehra, your host and Senior Research Associate at South Asia Research Institute for Minorities. Today we embark on a thoughtful journey delving onto Rohingya humanitarian crisis with a remarkable advocate and director of iResist, Aisha Ghazi. Aisha Ghazi is a force in the realm of human rights. Her work as a iResist, a project of OHM, showcase her commitment to human rights advocacy, blending documentary, filmmaking, and welfare initiatives. Today, we explore Aisha Ghazi's multi-faced approach in addressing Rohingya humanitarian crisis, supporting refugees in camp, victims of war and conflict. Thank you, Ms. Aisha, for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much.
Great. Let's start with the questions first. So, Ms. Aisha, to start, could you please share your personal experience or journey? What led you to focus on human rights, especially in the context of Rohingya refugees, victims of conflict, and the stateless community?
My personal journey for human rights, I think it's embedded in every person. You just need to explore it. We all are basically human rights activists if we just give a bit of attention to ourselves, especially if you are born with sensitive nature, maybe, and if you are, aware of what's going around in the world, you cannot, you cannot stop advocating human rights. So it's in all of us. It's just about how much related we are to what is going around us and how much can we basically on a personal level how much can we do. So this is how it is. But for myself, Allah has given me opportunity to express that side of my personality, which is a very big thing. There are so many people around me who are as much concerned about human rights as I am. But it is fortunate that I got the opportunity to express that side of my character, and that is it. And particularly if you are talking about Rohingya refugees, look, for like 2 generations ago, we migrated from India in the same circumstances
Yeah.
when we were being uprooted from that side of Punjab without any previous notices or anything. They just left their houses as they were, and it was the same situation in there. There was massacre, there was manslaughter, there was rape, there was child slaughtering,
Yeah.
everything. Same. But we were fortunate that we came to the lands where the lands adopted us and we adopted the land. So I'm talking about Punjab, the massacre in Punjab in 1947. So we were fortunate in a way that it did not linger on for us. Our migration did not linger on. We were just well adjusted. Even the same generation was well adjusted on this side of the border. But there are communities who are very unfortunate. So I always thought, like, for our generation, we could not come out of that trauma. Our forefathers, our grandparents, still told the same that they had gone through. If they could not come out of that trauma, what about the refugees who were not welcomed where they landed, and they could not come out of that refugee status? So what about them? How do they feel? So that was basically, I think that was the basic driving force that took me around the refugee camps in many places around the world. Especially, I focus on Muslim refugees, but any sort of refugees. They're all mine. I would say they're all mine. So before going to Rohingya camps, I went to Calais camps where there are Syrian refugees and Iraqi refugees and some of Afghans, and there were, very surprisingly, there were some Iranis, and sort of, all sort of mixed cultures. And then I worked in Afghan refugee camps in Pakistan as well. And then in 2017, there was a mass exodus from Myanmar, Rohingya refugees. And I was particularly concerned because there are the people who are absolutely unwanted, absolutely unwanted. Nobody wants to talk about them unless there
Yeah.
is political point scoring about them, unless they want some political agenda to throw, or otherwise nobody wants them. It's so unfortunate that a whole community of people is so unwanted around the world, but it's unimaginable. So that's why I particularly wanted to work on them, and then Allah gave me a chance to go there with a charity. I was working there already. It was very interesting that how we got the chance to go there, and till the last moment, it was not clear if I would be able to make it to Cox's Bazar in Kutupalong refugee camps, but it happened. And the time spent in there, the days spent in there, definitely added to my personality. Definitely, because I could not come out of that for a long time. What I
Yeah.
saw, I experienced, and the human misery, and the helplessness, and how they are abandoned by everyone, and the host community, how they are coping with it, and how they are dealing with it, and how they are responding to them, and then themselves, when you are unwanted, and you are completely helpless, you can't really help it. It was a very big experience for me.
Thanks, Aisha, for telling us about your experience. Now let's talk about your extensive work. You have encountered Rohingya humanitarian crisis. Can you please help us to understand the gravity of the situation and the unique challenges you faced during the Rohingya refugees camps?
The Rohingya crisis, the worst thing about them is that they don't have a very strong advocacy groups around the world. Like we see other refugee groups, they have some sort of saying somewhere, but it is so unfortunate with this community that they don't have
Yeah.
a strong advocacy group where they can make really a difference, or where they can grab the international attention, or international humanitarian crisis groups attention. That is the very important thing. Look at the situation in 2017. Their exodus started. The first refugees come a long time ago, I think, and the first big chunk of refugees came in 1978. So it's been going on for quite a long time. But 2017 was important because it was a proper military raid. It was a proper genocide that started with its full strength, and around 600,000 people came just in 2017 and after that. So what was causing it? There are multiple causes. There are multiple reasons why they had been so badly, so brutally treated, and why is the genocide happening? It's not just a very recent phenomenon. It is embedded in centuries, I would say, and it was exaggerated by the colonial rule.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not so many people know about this history. They just think it's a very recent thing, and it just began like 50 years ago or 40 years ago. It is not like that. Basically, what happened, as divide and rule, they're very typical divide and rule.
Yeah.
Okay? The colonial powers used Muslims in that certain portion of Myanmar, which was bordering Bangladesh, in Arakan state, and then they left them. They left them, with the hostile majority who they were basically serving. So what was supposed to happen? Obviously, it was supposed to happen because Myanmar Buddhists, they were supporting Japan in World War II, and the Rohingya Muslims, they were supporting, somehow they were supporting the British colonial powers. So if you leave them, okay, you won, or you have defeated, colonial powers have defeated them, but you just left them there. When you left, once you left in 47, once you left this, India and Pakistan and Bangladesh, you left them on hanged in there. This is basically rooted in colonialism. Once again, there is one more crime of colonial powers.
Yeah.
They are still suffering. And since then, obviously, there was a growing poverty and economic crisis in Myanmar, and everything, as you know, wherever refugees are, everything is blamed on them generally, on a vulnerable minority, that they are the reason for what is happening with us. Look at the UK kind of place, which is economically much more better than Myanmar. And even if there is an economic crisis, this is always blamed on the minorities or refugees who are coming in, that they are taking up our jobs. We are tantamount just because the minorities are there. So this is a very common psychology around the world, and this is what happened with the, our Rohingya refugees as well. They were not refugees at that time. Obviously, they have been living there for 5th century or something. 5th century. They can be traced back to 5th century. So this was the political side, and then there is obviously a hydrocarbon, a new global war on hydrocarbon. Everybody wanted that place because that became the center of attention for so many global powers. who want to do politics on hydrocarbon, natural resources, and everything. So, it's not just one thing. You might remember, or you might have read it because you are a very well-read person yourself as well. And in 2017, when the military attacks started and the proper genocide, the intensive genocide started, um, India's Modi went there, and he provided Ansuki the very much wanted, endorsement that she was not getting from anywhere else. So these are the neighboring countries who are to be blamed as well, not just Myanmar, because it's China
Yeah.
is Russia is involved, the India is involved, and the Arab countries, UAE is directly involved, the KSA is involved. So it's a mix of so many powers who are fighting against that very little vulnerable community. So where they're supposed to go. So what happened at the end? They were not obviously you might know that they were denied citizenship in early 1982, I guess. Since then, they were stateless within their own state. Right? They've been living there for centuries. They've been living there generations after generations, and suddenly they are stateless. And wherever they go, they are stateless.
Yeah.
Where are they supposed to go? They are, and it is very, very unfortunate because that community has been living in poverty for a long time, and they don't have any other skills rather than the farming and stuff. They are not very much welcomed anywhere. But this is what happens even if you are very much skilled community. Once you are a refugee, you are a refugee, you are not welcomed anywhere. So this all adds up in their misery in a way. And it was reflective in the situation which they are living in Kutupalong camps, and there are some other military camps. Now the whole area is a camp now. It was a jungle once. It's if you stand up there on a high place and if you look at it, it's a whole city of camps.
Yeah. True.
And it's all a miserable city. Like we say, it's nobody, not even a single person in there who doesn't have a traumatic story to tell. So this is the situation.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing the ground reality. I appreciate your dedication, extensive efforts. Remembering your one of the impressive work as we saw your outstanding achievement contained in the web, a well-researched documentary. Can you please tell us about what inspired you to focus on such a sensitive topic? Also, do you have the future plans for documenting research on the Rohingya?
Yeah, about Chain Link, it's my latest documentary that I screened in Pakistan, and we have a plan to take it around other places as well, obviously, because it's not just Pakistan's problem. And it is about the low caste Hindu community who do not count themselves among Hindus. And that's what I discovered when I was doing the research on it. But still, they are, chained in some sort of, this is some sort of hierarchy that they can't really get rid of. Even if they deny that they are not low caste, they don't, obviously, nobody will like to be called low caste. But, even if they deny it, the society doesn't deny it. The upper caste Hindus and lower caste Hindus and the way they had been treated for centuries and their impact for centuries when they were deprived of the education and respect and everything. So this is what I wanted to work on. And as you know, I'm a human rights activist, and if I look at my own country where I come from, and I see that there are people who are still stigmatized as untouchables. I don't believe it. Obviously, we don't believe it. But there is a certain community who still believes that they are untouchable, right? So I think that was my first duty to work on that, rather than going around in other places. The first, charity begins at home. So that was my first responsibility towards my own countrymates, my own the Hindu community that is called low caste. So this is where I started working on, and then I realized that it's a very big game. It's all part of a big puzzle. And the Babri Masjid demolition was part of the plan. And then in Pakistan, it's a very sensitive topic. I know it's a very sensitive topic to talk about. But the whole narrative of forced conversion was basically created to keep the low caste in the folds of Hinduism, or we don't call it Hinduism; it's a Brahminism, in their own, under the Manuwad law, by providing them with a alternate enemy. So this was the idea. We will, they said, okay, we will sort things out among ourselves later on. Let's focus on common enemy, and that common enemy was Muslim. It's a very interesting socio-political political phenomena. It is called frontism, which they applied in there. Most of the people don't know how it works, but this is how it works. That there are so many people who are different in their beliefs and in their priorities and everything, but they tend to group together if they see a common enemy. That is frontism. And this is exactly what happened in terms of how they kept the low castes in their own fold. This is how it happened because when there was an uprising in India by low caste, the Babri Masjid demolition basically provided a frontism phase. Like Muslim is the common enemy. Let's focus on him. We will sort out later on, and that's exactly what happened in Pakistan. The narrative of forced conversion basically was, created in a way, created to provide a common enemy, although ground realities are totally different. So this is what I worked on, and it was, as you said, it was a very sensitive topic, and it is a very sensitive topic because the propaganda is so deep that it is so difficult to persuade the other person that there is another side of the story. People don't want to hear that there is another side of the story. There is just one narrative, and that is that forced conversions happen in Pakistan, and you are not allowed to say the other side of the story. So that is why it was important to talk about it as well. There are reasons that these people are persecuted for centuries, and we have to talk about those reasons. So that was the basic aim for me to make change in the web. And as you said about Rohingya refugees, if I want to make a documentary, one of my short documentaries about Rohingya refugees, its name is The Most Unwanted, and it is ready to be screened, and hopefully it will get some proper platform to be launched very soon. It is about my own experiences in Cox's Bazar and Kutupalong camp, what I saw and what I felt in there. That is all about a your personal journey in there. So I hope that soon that will be launching.
Looking forward to it. Personally, I adore and I'm truly impressed by your research effort. So, as you know, SARIM aims to defend the rights of minority in South Asia region. How do you perceive the interconnection between Rohingya crisis and the border context of minority rights in South Asia?
You mean the bordering all the borders that are conflicting with each other? Is it that is the whole problem? That is the whole problem. The mankind did not learn to live in peace with each other, right? They learn to make borders, right? They learn to make passports. They learn to make the border forces that you can come here and you cannot come here, and you are free to drown in the sea, but you are not allowed to step foot on my land because this is my land. We fail to understand as a humankind. We fail to understand that I can bet there's not even a single person on the globe who has not migrated since the creation of Adam and Eve. There not even be a single person on earth, who is there where his descendants from Hazrat Adam and Hawa are still occupying the same land. It doesn't happen. All the communities around the world, they had all been uprooted at one time of the history. They had all been moving around in the world. So this is how it works. So you have to set a criteria how long somebody has to live in some place to own it, right? It's all a free world. I advocate for a border free world. It's all
Yeah.
for us. The world is all for us, for all of us, right? So I do not believe in these borders. If somebody is a peaceful citizen, if he wants to live somewhere, I you know I put my emphasis on peaceful. If there is a peaceful citizen, he should be allowed to live anywhere in the world. This is
Yeah.
our world. This belongs to all of us. So, but the mankind doesn't learn how to live peacefully with each other. Just look at Myanmar, right? The China is doing its own politics because the road and belt, and they want to access the from Myanmar, from Rakhine. There, you might know they have developed their seaport in the areas that where the Muslims are uprooted from. So they have developed a seaport in Rakhine State, and they want to access the Arab countries for oil, and they want to sell their own stuff in there. Sorry, and all that. And then there is India, right? Who is endorsing all this, and then there is China, who is we have already talked about, and then there is Russia, who is interested in all this. development because they want to take their share of resources and benefits from there. And then there is, sitting far away, there is Saudi Arabia who is investing in, oil companies in there in that state. So it's just, I think it's just Bangladesh who is not working for their own benefit in any way. They are just taking the burden of refugees, but they are in no way politically they are not working in their own benefit because I don't think they are making any decisions for themselves. That is the reason. So just look at any border, any country, and all the bordering countries. There is a constant politics that is not letting the governments and the people reflect on their own well-being. Right? It is not a very big problem for the whole world to just accommodate a little minority that has been uprooted from their own land. But this is not our priority. Our priority is, I don't know, because end of the day, we are all individuals, even if it's a Putin or it's Obama or it's Biden or it's me or you. And if we are all individuals, whatever we get, we are going to go to the grave. That's it. But we don't understand that somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for sharing your insightful knowledge. So, working with Rohingya refugees and victims of conflict requires strength and compassion. Can you share some impactful stories or experience that shape your insights on the humanitarian crisis or your advocacy work?
If you are talking about my personal experiences, right, when I went to Cox's Bazar and I spent time with them, that was really, as I said earlier, it has a lasting impact on me. I could not come out of it for a very long time. There was especially, meeting people in there who are as so fragile. You won't find that sort of thin people, fragile people, malnutrition anywhere else. Although the people are not very well fed in Bangladesh overall, but the Rohingyas, they were the exceptions. I was standing outside an NGO's camp. They were just distributing some flour and some stuff for the people, things of common use, and I was standing outside there. And suddenly some people came over. I have talked about it in my documentary as well. And some people, they shouted, "Oh, just get aside!" And I was surprised what's happening in here. And I just saw some people just carrying a little box on their shoulders, and then they were going along the way. And suddenly I realized that it was a funeral, and I was so much shocked in myself. I've never seen such a thing in my life. The box was so thin that I could not imagine any person can fit in there. And it was a funeral, right? And there were just a few people because life already is very hard, so death doesn't really matter. Death is not a very big a very big thing for anyone. I was so much moved to see that. What how healthy would be that person who can fit in this box as a dead body. I could not imagine. I could not imagine that. How does it work? But these are there are a few things that really moved me when I was there. And, looking at that funeral, I just sat down for a while and I could not really do anything because we all have to think. We all have to think where we are living. We are living in the same world where these people are living. It's a shame on us. That's why. And then I was there. Another time I was sitting beside a very little hut. There was an old lady living with her young son, and there was a little child in there with them, and they had nothing. In fact, in their hut there was nothing else. There were a few things, edible things hanging around in their camp. And when I sat down to talk to them, although we don't know the language, but the language of compassion, we always make some means to communicate something, some expression. And on the floor, I found a little paper, like there are papers spread around in refugee camps. And I picked it up, and I was so taken aback to see that it was a little drawing, a sketch done by some little child. As you know, our children draw sketchmans and stuff, the little sketches. And he had drawn one amputated leg, a man with an amputated leg, so one leg person. And it was so shocking that look at the community where children, this is what the children are drawing. When they are sitting with their own imagination, this is what they imagine. So, you know, this is the world where we live in, and we live happily. So this is our responsibility. This is a communal responsibility. This is not just Myanmar's responsibility. Because Myanmar's responsibility, what is Myanmar's responsibility? They are already there to kill them all. They won't care. They don't care. And nobody really bothered anything. The case is pending in ICJ, and then ICC. Who cares about them? International Criminal Court. Who cares about them? In 10 years' time, they will just bring one culprit and they will give him punishment. Who cares about them? They're all gone. So these are the things that really, I had carried with me, and they're still with me. These are the experiences.
Yeah, this is so sad, and I'm thanking you for highlighting this. So, as we conclude our conversation, what are your hopes and goals for the further future regarding the Rohingya humanitarian crisis, and how can individual or the organization contribute to the positive change amongst them?
My hopes, to be honest, because they don't have anybody to advocate them. They don't have any state backing, right? That is why they are drowning here and there. They are drowning coming to Bangladesh. They are drowning going to Malaysia. They are drowning going to Indonesia. And you might have seen there was some attacks on Rohingya refugees in Indonesia
Yeah.
very recently. So there is a growing intolerance for them wherever they are from the host communities. Because obviously the host communities, they have their own markets and they have their own capacities, but attacking refugees, and then in India, there were not many refugees in there anyway, but there had been a crackdown in Rohingya refugees in there as well. So I don't really have any high hopes because there is no state backing. Maybe if there are some international powers who want to do some politics in their name, they might get something for themselves, but otherwise, if there is no political gain, they are not going to get anything out of it, which is very, very sad. On an individual level and on a platform level, the most important thing that you can do is to speak about them because they have gone into the background, right? They were in 2017, 2018, the news for Rohingya were in the foreground. And then there is some sort of silent ban on their drowning ships for some reason. So nobody is really talking about them anymore, how they are migrating to Malaysia. I have visited their community in Malaysia as well. There is a very small community that is living in the outskirts of Kuala Lumpur. I have recorded their testimonies, how they did their journey in the sea and how many people. The lady was telling me she saw her relatives dying one by one, and she was the lucky one to survive. So what we need to do as an individual, if I talk about myself as in an individual capacity, because I don't have any media backing or any government backing in the state, we need to talk about them because they have gone in the background. We need to create an advocacy group for them. We need to make an opinion about them because when there is an opinion, there is a pressure on the state. There is a pressure on
Yeah.
to look into the matter. So that is where we are lacking, and that is where the Rohingya advocates themselves are lacking because they are not making enough noise. They are doing what they can do in their capacity, but I think they have to build the capacity. And as a platform, definitely a platform has much more a stronger voice than an individual. And there are humanitarian crises. We have to provide them with education. That is the first thing because there is a whole generation of young children who are deprived of education, and I don't see any hope for them wherever they are settled. I do not see any hope for them if they are deprived of education. So this is where we really need to work.
Uh, yes, I agree with you. Thank you for sharing your valuable insights. And there you have it, a truly enlightful conversation with Aisha Ghazi, shedding light of Rohingya humanitarian crisis. Thank you for sharing your expertise and passion to create a positive change in the lives of marginalized communities. For our listeners, thank you for joining us this important dialogue. Together, let's continue to forecast awareness and understanding. This is Zehra signing off for now. Until next time, take care, stay connected, and stay engaged. Thank you so much, Miss Aisha, for joining.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll see you in future collaborations, inshallah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.